Will Donald Trump be convicted under the Georgia RICO statute? I've been asked that question a lot lately. Now, Zerman Zane has not been asked that question, but I've been asked that question. And although I am Zerman Zane on TikTok, I'm somebody else entirely in real life. In real life, I'm what they call a RICO expert, an authority on the topic. I've been practicing RICO litigation for over 30 years. I've written a book. I've been teaching RICO in law school for over 20 years. I've basically spent my whole life in this obscure area of the law. And if you've been watching your televisions closely, and if you imagine me wearing something other than black, you've seen me on several recent news programs. Likewise, if you listen carefully, you'll recognize my voice on several radio shows and podcasts. And if you knew my real name, you'd see me quoted in many newspaper and magazine articles. Now, I'm not telling you all of this to brag, I'm just telling you this to establish my credentials. Normally, here on TikTok, I avoid legal issues because, frankly, I just want to get away from law and talk about more interesting things. And besides that, Legal Dad Barrister and Hawk do a great job covering the legal landscape, and I generally defer to their videos when it comes to those topics. But because I am an authority on the RICO statute, I feel as though I have to talk to you, my TikTok followers, about this situation in Georgia. And what I really want to talk about is the difference between being an authority on a topic and being arrogant when it comes to a topic. Is Trump guilty of violating the RICO statute? As an authority on RICO, I can tell you what it means to violate RICO. It means that you're a defendant person, in this case it would be Donald Trump, who conducts the affairs of an enterprise through a pattern of racketeering activity. I can go through each one of those elements, what it means to conduct the affairs of an enterprise, what an enterprise is, what it means to engage in a pattern of racketeering activity. I can talk about all that stuff all day. I've done it many times. I can cite a whole laundry list of Supreme Court cases under RICO. If you live in Florida, I can tell you about the 11th Circuit's interpretation of RICO. If you live in California, we can talk about the 9th Circuit, and I can talk about even your district courts. But what I cannot tell you is whether Trump will be convicted under RICO, because that determination has nothing to do with legal expertise. Guilt is an abstract concept. It is subjective. And if I were to sit here and tell you Donald Trump violated RICO, I'd be lying. I'd only be exercising arrogance. Likewise, of course, it would be equally arrogant for me to sit here and say that Trump did not violate the statute. Someone who is an authority on a topic knows where their expertise ends and where the world of subjectivity and abstraction and nuance begins. In our legal system, a legal expert can, talk about the law, but they cannot define, they cannot decide what guilt is, what liability is, what justice is in a particular case. That determination, that authority is given to the jury and the jury alone. Now, if I was sitting on the jury down there in Fulton County, could I make a determination as to whether or not Trump is guilty? Sure. But I'd have to see the evidence first, and I've not seen the evidence. No one outside of the grand jury in Fulton County and those attorneys working on the case in the Fulton County DA's office has seen all of the evidence that's been gathered. So if I were to tell you that Trump violated RICO or he didn't violate RICO, I would simply be acting out of bias and arrogance. And anybody who tells you anything else at this point in time is also blowing smoke up your keister. And if you believe in due process, you certainly believe in the presumption of innocence, even when it comes to someone like our former president. After looking at the indictment put together by Fani Willis, I can say that in my opinion, she's done a good job pleading the RICO count. But that should be no surprise. Fani Willis is an expert in RICO just as much as I am or anybody else in the country is. She's had a lot of success prosecuting RICO claims, so of course she knows how to indict someone under RICO. But this is a very unique case. It's going to be subject to a lot of unique factors that we've already seen playing out in the media. Will all 19 of these defendants be tried together? I don't know. But I will tell you that as a prosecutor, as a plaintiff's lawyer, you want to create some kind of inference of guilt by association. Birds of a feather flock together. But I will also say that prosecutors never lightly charge anybody with criminal activity. And RICO is a super complicated, super difficult claim to prove. And so when it comes to RICO charges in particular, they really take those seriously and they put a lot of thought, time, and energy into them before they charge anyone. It never would have happened if there wasn't a lot of fire behind that smoke. So yeah, unlike a lot of authoritative figures on various topics that are presented in our society, I am not going to speculate about the results of this trial. During this process, we all need to keep open minds. We need to think critically about the information that we're receiving from the media. And we need to have faith in our judicial process, because it will be our fellow citizens, the members of the jury, who will ultimately decide President Trump's guilt or innocence. And whatever outcome is reached by that jury should be supported by anyone who believes in this country and its concepts of fairness and due process.